views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Good evening and welcome to Bronx Talk. Development in the Bronx comes in many shapes and sizes. While we are always proud of big development, the importance of small development and the strength of small businesses is vital to the Bronx economy and to the spirit of the Bronx. But how do you start a small business? Is it as hard as some say? Can it be done? Tonight we will feed your imagination a bit and visit with two Bronx entrepreneurs who have taken matters into their own hands. We're going to get some important lessons in cold small business reality tonight. So please join me in welcoming from the forthcoming Ulumine.com. It's Albert Abreu. Nice to have you, sir. And also from BeckyNova.com. It is Becky Nova. Thank you both for coming. Thank you both for being bold enough to start a business in the Bronx, to figure out how it can be done, to be on your own. So let's break it down, and maybe we'll explain to some people how it could actually be done. As an aside, I will tell you that I have started my own small business. Many people know we've started This is the Bronx, and we can talk about that in this context as well. Nonetheless, Albert, tell me a little bit about how you got to the point where you were either smart or stupid enough to say, I'm going to start my own business.
I got to thank Donnie Deutsch. He used to have a show called The Big Idea. It was before Shark Tank and stuff like that. And the main purpose of the show was, can you do this better? There's always a better way. So my thing was, I was in high school and I wanted a job. And my main concern was, how can I get a job and do it much better? And what came about was starting to sell online, which at this point was eBay. So I started selling things around the house. I ran short on those things.
Like what kinds of things? Did
like
you sell your tie, or did you sell?
Whatever you can get your hands on?
Yeah, it first started
like pots and pans.
Yes, it actually started
Literally.
with gifts. Actually, those unwanted gifts at the end of December.
Unfortunately, I do. And you would sell those on eBay.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so you did that. A lot of us do, for fun and sell a couple of things, try to make a couple of dollars. How did it go from that step to Ulumine.com?
Correct. Well, it then started with friends. If they wanted to sell something or get rid of something, I would then ask them, if they wanted something. And then it went on to then selling, buying liquidations from people like Amazon and Best Buy. And then it projected onto Ulumi. Now, Ulumi is based on a community that...
You're going to have to hold it 1 second, because you made about 15 different leaps.
Okay.
So you sold those things. Did you make money at those things?
Yes.
You made a lot of money?
Yes.
And you were particularly good at it, because a lot of us, and I've sold a couple of things on eBay, it takes me forever, I can't figure it out, and believe me, if I made 80 cents on any item, I would think that I was doing very well. You have a business background?
Yes.
And you did that where?
At Lehman College.
I knew you were going to say that. So you were a Lehman College student, you have a business background, you like the idea of like doing this e-commerce, or it kind of came naturally to you?
Correct, yeah.
Felt natural to you. Why didn't you say to yourself, you know what, I could do this stuff, I'm going to find a company that's going to pay me so that I could do it, and then I don't have to have all the pressure and all that kind of stuff?
Correct.
No, well, why did you decide you didn't want to do that?
When you watch CNBC,
Yes.
you realize like the capitalist and the mindset that you got to have, and you realize that there's a market out there, that every individual in our country has money, where they're from different points of income barrier, they always need something, either a product or a service. So the idea came about, how can I supply that to them, whether it's
And you had, in a way, with eBay and also with Amazon,
Correct, yeah.
you had other examples that it could be done and how it could be done.
Correct, yeah.
And again, I don't know, you're either smart or stupid enough to think, gee whiz, I could maybe do this myself. All right, we're going to hold you. We're going to bring Becky into the conversation. Then we'll
Sure.
go to youlumine.com. All right, same question for you. So
Okay.
how did we go to from wherever you were
Sure.
to a point of you saying, well, I want to establish my own thing?
Sure. For me, similar but yet very different. I had actually worked in cancer research for many years. I did pharmaceutical development of different types of chemotherapies. I had done that for probably almost 10 years, and I got very disillusioned with what the pharmaceutical industry was very much like. I felt we were spending too much time waiting for people to get sick to then find ways to help them, and I wanted to be a part to change that. Unfortunately, at the time, I was not quite sure how to be able to do that. But I knew that I needed to leave the situation that I was in. So I quit my job. I put a message on Facebook saying I wanted to move to Europe. And I only had one response the next morning when I woke up. It was to move to Sevilla. So I packed my things.
Where
and
is Sevilla?
Spain. I had to Google it to figure
Sevilla.
out where it was
Sevilla,
too.
I'm
So,
sorry.
Yeah, me too.
but down in southern Spain. So
And how long ago is that?
that was,
a year, 2 years,
no, probably
5
about
years?
8 years ago.
8 years ago,
But I was
okay.
in Spain then for about 4 years, where I started a tour company.
Okay.
Because you needed to find a way to make money. So
Right.
someone told me my English seemed pretty good. Asked me if I wanted to do tours for some local
Wow.
hostels and walking tours, pub crawls, flamenco shows, all that type of stuff. So I started that, and then I expanded into Portugal, where I then lived for a year, and I bought a bar. And then I had a bus that took people between Spain and Portugal to Spain.
So your background for doing what you do now is that you had businesses in Europe, in Spain,
Yeah.
and Portugal.
So now, actually, I didn't even say what I do. I kind of skipped over that part.
Well, we'll
But
get there.
What
But-
what ended up happening was I came back to the States about 3 years ago, still remembering that dream to really help people improve the quality of their life through health. But now I had all this business skill. I didn't go to business school. I didn't
Right.
know anything about business.
Right.
My background's psychology and law.
But you did okay with those businesses there?
Yeah, my tour company in Spain was incredibly successful. My downfall in Portugal was, unfortunately, I made a bad business decision and lost a ton of money.
Oh.
So-
It's nice that
Yeah.
she says it with a smile on her face.
yeah.
Care
Learning
to
experience.
share what that problem was?
I went into business with a person that kind of took advantage of the situation.
All right, so bad partner.
yeah, bad
Summarize.
partner.
And she's,
Yeah.
she's gritting her teeth. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. All right, so then you're there. You had one successful venture and one not successful venture.
Yes.
And then you came back to the States because you wanted to come back here?
Yeah, well, when you have no money, usually your parents' home in their basement is kind of the place you go.
So then you came back here.
Yes,
All right,
came
now
back to
how
the
did we
States.
get to the next step?
So came back to the States, decided I wanted to go forward with that future within health and wellness. So originally I started health coaching, and I learned that sometimes that business just has a lot of downfalls to it. It's something you only get paid when you work. You're trading time for money. And that was something, think about like a personal trainer. You get paid when you see a client, but if you go on vacation, you don't get paid.
Right.
If they go on vacation, you don't get paid. If they move, you don't get paid.
Right.
So I needed to find a way to really focus on that and to fill those gaps. So then I started working with nutritional products.
I got to ask you, excuse me, I've
Sure.
got to ask you the same question that I asked Albert. So at that point, why didn't you say, I'm going to find a company to work for that will pay me, I can get vacation pay, I can work like
Yeah.
many American workers do. Why didn't you do that, and why did you say, I'm going to keep doing this by myself?
Sure, one of the reasons that was important to me was I was actually a victim of domestic violence many
I'm
years
sorry.
ago. Thank you. And it became very difficult for me to have the same commute, to sit in the same office, in the same building, to then walk across the street to get to the same lunch. At points in my life, I was actually very scared for that. So I had
Because it made you predictable and unfortunately
yes.
a target.
And that was
Okay.
something that I just wasn't comfortable with, as a lot of other women and men in that situation are. So I needed to do something where I could think outside the box and create my own future for that.
One of the things that we like to do, or that I like to do when we do this show, is to find things that people can relate to. And number one, somebody maybe who has a business background in education, somebody who doesn't, but may have a
Yeah.
social situation, such as that situation, that says, you know what? Because we know that there are women watching the
Yes.
program now who will say, you know what, I can't be in that situation. And then here's an
Yeah.
example of how to turn it around.
Yeah.
So then you said, well, then I got to do it myself.
I got to do it myself. I got to find a way where I can really live a great quality life. And to me, entrepreneurism is the opportunity to do that. And then I wasn't in a situation where I felt too predictable. So that's when I started kind of going that direction and haven't turned back from entrepreneurism now.
Wow. So now let's get to the point where you tell us what it is that you do. What is it that you do?
Sure. What I do is I coach people to set up side businesses within the health and wellness industry.
Give me an example of the kind, and this also may be a great example to people in the Bronx who would say, gee, I wanted to set up a business like that. What
Sure.
kinds of businesses do people set up?
Sure. So sometimes it might be a boutique studio, personal trainer, something in that category of somebody that's looking, like myself as a health coach, that's looking to solidify their income to make sure that they don't have those, peaks and valleys in their own entrepreneurial pursuits. For other people, it sometimes might be they're going to that dead-end job that they hate, that's 9 to 5, and they want to find a way that they can create a future to get out of that. And I can teach them how to set up that side business to give them the opportunities and that mobility to make a change without going back to school for.
What are the things that, boy, you know what, Albert, we got a coach right here. Maybe she's the one maybe she's the person we've been missing. But what are the kinds of things? Just give me the one or two big general things
Sure.
that people would need to know in order to do what you're recommending or you're suggesting you can do.
For me personally, I find helping people take that first action tends to be the most important. A lot of people tend to either get caught up on their heads in either planning, making sure they have the perfect website, the perfect pitch, all those
And it
types
takes
of
them
things.
forever to just take
Just
that
to
first
do
step.
it. So I really like to work with people on what those blocks are that's blocking their message from getting out to people that they can really be helping. That's really kind of important to me.
That's a really big thing, is getting them to say, okay, we're going to do this.
Let's just do this. Let's
Visualize
start.
it. Albert,
Yeah.
you had a really good background or really good coaching, and you can talk about the Bronx Business Bridge and the Small Business Association. And I think this is important because I also, for This is the Bronx, I had somebody who coached me and advised me. So tell me a little bit about that and what they did that was useful to you.
So they integrated the entrepreneurship mindset, which she was referring to. We're taught in school like the methods of how things operate, but in
How a business operates.
correct, yeah, like the overview,
Right.
the bird's eye view. They were that the business bridge actually helps you in there and tells you, look, this is a product, this is a service, this is how you take it from an idea to an actual business. You know, like these are like, you open the business plan, stuff like that, and where do you go next?
I'm guessing that the reason that was helpful, or the reason it could be helpful for somebody who doesn't have business training, is that there's a lot, maybe they know something about baking, or they know something about childcare, or they know something about health and wellness, but they don't understand how to turn that into a business situation.
Correct. I think many of us have fears. I think one of the things she was mentioning was fear. And the thing is, you need someone to show you the way when you're still not there yet. In the sense of business, you need someone who has gone through the trip itself and showed you, hey, look, this is the pathway.
Right.
If you do this consistently and you know your why, you're going to get your results.
You had somebody also, you were talking about an organization or somebody that you worked with.
When I moved back to the States, I worked a lot with the Small Business Solutions. They are a group.
Small Business Solutions.
They're
Okay.
through in
I
every
hope people
borough.
who are interested in starting a business are taking some notes here, because there
Yeah.
really could be some good tips. Go ahead.
Absolutely something that's very easy to Google, but they're actually in every borough in the city, that they have their own different departments. They offer a ton of different classes on just 10 steps on if you want to. You might be that baker that's like, people love my cookies, but I don't really know what to do with it. They can really help you put together that business plan. They teach you different ways around funding. They have social media classes, legal classes, a ton of different, and they're all free.
And so I'm
Which is
going to
great.
add. I'm going to add a third one. We can talk firsthand here. For myself and for This is the Bronx, I work with Operation Hope, which is a federally funded program that provides entrepreneur programs for free for people in the Bronx. I had an association with them, and so I work with them. And for me, the biggest thing they explain to me, because I don't have the kind of business training maybe that Albert does, is stop relying on other people. It's gonna, if anybody's gonna make, especially in my situation, because I'm relatively well known, I'm a guy on TV, whatever. They said, you are gonna have to do it. And there were times where I was saying, well, I put this in place, but this isn't working. And he looked at me and he said, guess what? Forget that stuff. You're the one who's going to have to do it. And that was the first big, and then and you probably found this with the SBA. They did connect me to certain financial situations, a local bank, and some other things that they had a relationship with. And if I didn't have that, I'd probably be still on the phone trying to figure it out, right? So that's among the things.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So tell me where things went wrong. In other words, I can tell you things that happened to me that
How
were,
much time do we have?
but just give me an example of the kind of thing that you had to kind of overcome, which was another lesson that I learned, because they said to me, things are going to go wrong. Things are going to go wrong that you never expected, and you're going to have to figure it out. And you can quit any time, but then you're done.
Then you lost that.
Right. So you're going to have to hang in there and overcome. And I'll be the third. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and I'll tell you what happened to me. Go ahead.
I think it was capital. There was no capital there.
No
so,
money.
Yeah. So how do you start? You know, when to buy a lot, you need $5-6 grand. You know, so you
a
have
lot
to,
of merchandise, for example.
correct, of liquidated merchandise. So
Right.
that was like, where do you go next? You know, do you ask around? You know, so you have to get creative. You know, you start asking families and friends. You go a GoFundMe account, which I'm pretty sure you know. It's like this, or you do crowdfunding. So you have to get creative.
And how did you do it?
Well, actually Google, yeah, a lot of Google help, yeah.
What do you mean?
Meaning I Googled it as to like how would people, you know, fund small businesses, startups and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting. All right. So for you, what were things that happened that you said, oh my goodness, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this?
This one, I'm kind of the opposite. I find ways to make things work in kind of creative solutions. So I think being very
So
flexible.
you in and of yourself are a kind of a solution machine.
Yeah. So like I mean money, like I've always found ways to kind of make money to be able to raise things for that. But for me, I think that idea of kind of staying flexible, I feel like when people are very rigid within like, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to get to, if they stay in that lane, sometimes that gets very difficult for them. You have to be flexible and be like, okay, my business is going in this direction that I never expected, but that's where the money's coming. Sometimes you have to go that direction, and you have to be okay with that, but not lose your overall message.
I'm, as I said, we're going around the table, so I'll tell you, I had some of the wrong personnel, and I didn't know it because they had been recommended to me, and they kind of, without going into some detail, but they kind of left me, I was left hanging. One started pushing me contractually in an area I didn't want to go financially, and another didn't produce what he said he was going to produce, and I was stuck right at the end. So that was a very, very, very big part of it. But as far as the capital thing, it was a very big question. I actually found a local credit union, frankly, the Van Cortlandt Credit Union, that was incredibly friendly, had the kind of loan that I could deal with, and it helped launch the business. Becky, I'm just curious about the idea. So you were an entrepreneur, but then felt like you wanted to help others be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I was going to
Yes.
say, so you're guilty of torture, is that right? No.
Kind of, yeah.
And where is it at right now? Because it's still, for both of you, it's kind of in the formulation stage. Talk to me about where it's at right now.
My business is growing. I'm actually very happy where my business is
Do you
at this
have
time.
many clients at this point?
It depends how you define many, but
1, 2, 3, 5, 10? Well, I guess
quite a bit
never
more.
enough.
I've in the past, since once again, I kind of followed the branches of what I do. With the branch of what I'm doing right now, which is BeckyNova.com, I've helped over 200 families provide better health and wealth to those families within the past 2 years. I'm pretty proud of that.
That's pretty unbelievable.
So, yeah.
And are they local people?
Almost all of them are local, actually. I used to do a lot more work in Manhattan, and when I moved to the Bronx almost 2 years ago, I found really a community of people that were very passionate about their health,
Right.
and that were also looking for different financial solutions. And that's something that's really been able to grow, and now I'm in an area where people care more about what they're actually doing. That's something to me that's been fantastic.
This did not happen on purpose. And no, I want to just describe something. So when I did the outreach to various people that I know, to the organizations that have already been mentioned here, and you guys were suggested to me, it was not planned that you're running an e-commerce business. You're BeckyNova.com, and I have this is the Bronx.info.
Yeah.
3 internet businesses.
Correct, yeah.
Nowadays, as I understand from my discussion with a lot of people involved in this thing, there are a lot of people, especially in the Bronx, that want to do, bakeries or small restaurants or something, or even do it out of their home, daycare centers, hair salons, all those kinds of things. How important, aside from the fact that yours is an e-commerce thing, how important is knowledge of the web and understanding kind of this modern way of doing commerce? How important is that for a small business?
Extremely important, actually. It's a new way of doing marketing, and it's a new way of getting leads. That's how you get new business, actually. So everything is actually enveloped in the internet nowadays, because let's say she opens a business, I click a like, you see that, now you understand her business, now she comments and says something else, and then I like that, so we're now in unison. So it creates a group of following.
How do you, and how will you plan to broaden Ulamine.com?
Correct. So by creating a newsletter, that's what we're working on now, which we're going to motivate people on a regular basis, on a weekly thing. And then we're also going to branch out in terms of paid advertising, which I'm pretty sure you're familiar with certain keywords.
Right, and again, it's amazing because it's all on the internet.
Yes.
I mean, that's what it is. And what about you in terms of, you've got clients, but you always, of course, want to build it and make more and do better. How would you do it?
Well, it's actually interesting. I used to do a lot more in person. I still tend to do some of that, but I actually have recently switched to doing much more through social media because that is really the first thing people do. When people want to learn about you, we don't even go to websites anymore. We start to go to Instagrams, just try to figure out what's going on there. And then if they like your Instagram, then they'll go to a website. So I kind of also, to have a greater reach and to move more across the country, it's something that I had to really switch and up my social media game.
I'm frankly older than both of you, so you guys grew up in much more so in this era, and it was something I had to learn because the idea was we were going to create an Everything Bronx website, and I was advised it's a web portal because the website is not going to be your finished product. And now we have a newsletter and all that stuff, and we're planning many other things, many other vehicles with which to use this portal, which is really the foundation for it. And what both of you say, social media is the key. And I was told, and I was like, nah, I'll just figure it out.
I was like that too.
But of course, there's no question about it. Is that is the way. And you think about it for yourself. What's the first thing you do? After you open your eyes in the morning, you go check your mail. You go check your, what's in there. You look at your Facebook or your Instagram, whatever it is that you do.
But one of the things that's really helpful with that, on the positive side, is that social media gives so many more people the opportunity to become entrepreneurs. Once again, when we talk about capital really being a issue for people to start businesses, now if you can get around needing a brick and mortar, like an actual location of a business, when you get rid of the insurance, the furniture, all of the rent and the upkeep, so many more people now have the opportunity to become an entrepreneur.
Because they can
through
click
social
on
media.
Yeah.
It really is a lower entry point into having your own business.
Do you work with other people? Like, do you have a team of people that you work with?
Yep.
And and you as well, and I certainly do also. How do you choose the people? How do you find people? We're going to go around again, and I have an interesting answer to that you're really going to appreciate. Okay.
To me, the things that are most important isn't if they know about health and wellness, isn't what their education level for that is. It's somebody that really is driven, that's hardworking, and is willing to participate and willing to learn. I can work with anybody and teach anybody to make money if they have those two things. That's what I need.
All right. And what about people that you surround yourself with?
Attitude. Are they open-minded and are they teachable? That's important to me.
Something in common.
Yeah, which I think.
Well,
we just said it in different ways.
I'm going to add the third, and what I've done, and I'm going to openly recommend it because it's my alma mater as well. I have gone to Lehman College Career Services and have found some of the most wonderful, smartest, world-ready, tuned-in people who have been able to run the thing and manage a lot of aspects of it. First of all, they're younger, and so they understand the whole social media thing that I don't understand. But it has brought me a base of real young people who have passion, and they're part of this now, and they frankly energize me every day, and that's how we do it. So what is next? And for you, what are the next steps? Either the next challenges or the next things that are going to happen?
So the next challenge for me right now is Amazon. It's actually something called private label, which basically means.
I just can't keep track. I tell you, I just can't keep track. Go ahead.
So basically, it's creating products from China and just creating a label behind it.
What do you mean by that, products from China?
So let's say these cups right here, right? I would be able to make those cups with my brand on it.
I see.
Yeah.
But then that's all, again, it's e-commerce. It's all part of how it's done on the internet.
Correct.
Frankly, we do the same thing. Our thing is putting a newsletter together of existing stories. I mean, we do create our own content in some cases, but a lot of it is just kind of curating what's out there. And in a business way, you're talking about the same kind of thing.
Correct.
Finding a product and then finding out a way to spread it out under your label. Wow, fascinating.
Yeah.
It's a new world, folks. And what about for you?
For me, I think it's always important to continue to share my message with other people that are also looking for an opportunity within what I do.
So here it is. The camera's on. Make a pitch. Who is it that you're looking for? What qualities are you looking for? And what would you think their goals would be that you can support and help?
Sure. I'm looking for people that are passionate within the health and wellness industry, that either currently work in it or would like to move into that field, that want an opportunity to really break into that. Their goals would be something to, within the next 3 to 5 years, to possibly move completely into that field. But for now, to at least create a plan B.
Real quick, we're running out of time. Define who those people are.
Sure.
College grads,
Yep.
maybe? Or
Anyone that falls in that bracket, once again, millennials that understand what social media marketing kind of
Make your life
counts as.
easier.
But anybody that's either personal trainers, freelance people, actors that are looking for extra work,
Wow.
or moms that are really looking for a second income.
Wow, that you know what? You've just defined a very broad audience. And how do they get in touch with you?
BeckyNova.com.
BeckyNova.com, and wow, fascinating. Now, what about for you? Who needs to check you out, or what do they got to do?
Yeah, people interested in actually, like she said, staying motivated actually, like having the proper attitude for success. Not only just in business, but in general, like whether that is, dropping 10 pounds to,
Got it. And I'm looking for people who are interested in the BX, which is all of us. So there you go. This is the Bronx. Anyway, Albert Abreu, good luck, and I hope you'll check back in and let us know how it's going.
Thank you, Gary.
Becky Nova and BeckyNova.com. Yours is Ulamine.com. And when are we ready to look for that?
Right away.
Right away. All right. And BeckyNova.com.
Yep.
Get online and find it and find your passion. Find your way of what you want to do. And if you do have further questions or comments on anything you heard on the show tonight or anything going on in the Bronx, then email them to us at bronxtalk@bronxnet.org. You can send us a tweet at BronxTalk or post them on our Facebook page, and we'll read them on the air during a future edition of our program. You can check out our archives at bronxnet.org. BronxTalk is on the lower right navigation bar. Now, we start a series of 3 political debates for the Democratic primary next week on August 14th. It'll be the 13th Council District on the 21st. It'll be the 18th Council District race, and the race for the 14th Council District will be on August 28th. Important programs for you and for me. We hope you will join us. Thanks to our producer, who is Lindsay. Our director is Brianna, and we will see you next week.
That's exciting.